County Board of Zoning Appeals to order, and if you would, let's bow prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight just thanking you once again for the blessing of letting us live here in Jefferson County in beautiful East Tennessee. And dear God, we thank you for all your provisions. We come to you with heavy hearts tonight for what's going on with our country and the other countries around the world. Dear God, we just lift their leaders up to you. We pray, Lord, you help them to make good and wise decisions, dear God, as they move throughout the rest of this. And dear God, we pray that you be with the citizens. Protect them, those that have nothing to do with what's taking place. Dear God, back to us here at the county tonight, I just ask that you guide our decisions, Lord, guide our speech and our attitudes, and every part of everything we say and do will be glorifying unto you. Dear God, we thank you for all of these things that you bless us with. But most of all, we thank you for the love that you gave us as your Son and the grace that you received from him. It's in his name that we ask you this. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you have a copy of your minutes that came in the package, and I trust you've had an opportunity to review those. Are there any additions or corrections to them? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
We have a proper motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor of approving the minutes for the May meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals, let them be saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And then moving on down to citizens' input. We have 2 citizens' input tonight. Stephanie, you don't have any more, do you? That's it? Okay. Brian Asbury, C3 zoning.
Yeah, you want to do that under the BZA or under the regional plan?
That C3 thing will come up under planning, but you had written zoning down. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't. Okay, good deal. So, and the other citizens input will be for planning as well. So, on to first item that we have is a variance request for a garage to be placed at the front of the property at 1835 Stone Bridge Drive, Dandridge, by Timothy and Diane McDonald. Anyone here to represent them? Okay, if you would, sir, come to the podium and tell us about what you got going on.
I also have some more copies.
Basically, you just put up a garage on the upper side of the driveway.
Right, and that's really the only place on the piece of property that you've got to put one of those. Everything seems to be, and we've granted other variances out that direction,
Yes.
similar to this
Several.
throughout. I don't see any issues whatsoever with it. I looked at the smaller map that we had came out with it. Does anyone have any questions?
How many feet was that?
It's on the map.
What is it?
He's only 24 feet.
24-foot variance.
No, he's not needing that much. He's still going to be 24 feet. It's just going to be.
He's only requesting a variance for it to be in front of the house. He's still gonna be making the
Yeah, I'm
30
making
foot
all
front,
sense.
or
He'll
the
be
30 foot front.
He'll be 35.5 off one, and it says it's 24 foot coming in from the existing driveway and the property line there.
So you have a regulation that you can't put the garage in
Yes,
front
front
of
of
the
the
house?
unless you have
Yeah,
2 acres.
yeah, absolutely. That take care of what you did, that Mark? Okay, any other questions, Mr. Thomas? Being none, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to grant the.
Okay, we have a proper motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the variance for Mr. McDonald to build his garage in front of the residence, please let me know by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
I'll let you stack it right there.
I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow.
This is inside. And we need to keep.
No, we'll get it.
You need these? You got a couple.
The gentleman who walked.
He didn't.
Next item is item number 7 on the agenda, variance request for 12.8 feet on the front setback for a new house to be constructed on Deer Chase Trail, Dandridge, Cove Springs. Adam Maskey, I hope I said that right, and Lynn North. Is anyone here to represent them? And again, there should have been a map of that in your package as well. That is not the right one.
The one that looks like this.
Yeah, it's got here. It's right here. Mr. Trent, you're just looking for that variance of 12 feet on the front side, correct?
Yes.
And that is by far the most suitable place on that lot to build, correct?
Oh, yeah.
And I think this is one that got, all this stuff got approved before we put the minimum size on the lot and stuff for their subdivision regs. I see no issues with it, and there have been other variances granted in that Deer Chase
Yes.
for similar
Cove
reasoning.
Springs.
So, yeah, Deer Chase Trail. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Trent?
So it's because of topography.
Yeah, more or less. That's the
Yeah,
best
the
spot.
left side of the lot drops off like in a gully, and then the right side, or the rear of the lot drops down to the lake. So if you keep it back, there's gonna have no backyard at all. It's just gonna drop off.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion, we grant the variance.
We have proper motion, we have a second. Have a second. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor of granting the variance, please let me know by saying aye. All those opposed? Good to see you. We need bigger tables. That's all it is to it. Okay, and we have item 8, determination if an indoor sports training facility is an allowed use in C2 general commercial. Stephanie, what can you share with us about this one?
I had a call, what's his name? From Zeke Kane. He's interested in putting an indoor sports training facility in the existing empty Family Dollar building at the 424 exit. There will be nothing outside. It'll all be inside the building as existing. They'll just do modifications of the inside.
Okay, so there's ample parking spaces, everything with septic or sewers there, everything's in good shape. It's just repurposing the old building for a training facility for sports.
How big was the building?
It's a Family Dollar building, pretty good size. Have batting cages in it and some other things, pitching alleys, pitching lanes. And, they may have,
That's what you're looking at.
yeah, doing something like that. I think there may be some weight training and stuff in there, maybe a little bit.
He said the batting training, pitching, he kept naming off. There's going to be some turf in there, I guess, for football training.
C2, it was C2. Yeah, so I mean, absolutely, it's the same thing. And these are taking place in all type of vacant buildings scattered
Which is
all
good.
over Hamlin County and Jefferson County. It's keeping those buildings from sitting idle. There's a lot of them that probably hadn't come before, for the repurposing of. They're just renting space and doing it on a smaller scale.
So the allowable uses in your C2 area, item 7 is indoor recreation uses, including video game arcades, billiards, pool rooms, bowling alleys, skating rinks, movie theaters, and indoor firing ranges. So you have something that really is very typical of.
It's very likening to, it doesn't
Yes.
state specific, a sports training facility, but it has several things in there. So they're good to go. I mean, I think we don't even have to bring it up for a vote, I don't think. It's there, it's likening to, unless someone feels the need to do so. You okay, Mark wants to vote. You all know the motion, or not the motion, but the item that's on the floor. If indoor sports training facility is allowed use in C2, and according to what we looked at, number 7 in C2,
Item 7.
item 7 shows it's very likening to that. What is the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to approve it.
We have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of approving that use in C2, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And motion to adjourn, I'd entertain. Yeah, okay, have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Zoning adjourned. I call to order the meeting of the Jefferson County Planning Commission. And again, you received your minutes for that. We have a member, or two, did you call from White Pine? Okay, somebody's calling from White Pine. I thought it might have been you, saying you running a little bit behind or something. No, come on in. Okay, you received your packets, and again, there was a copy of those minutes in there. I trust you read those. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a proper motion, we have a second. Have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes from the May meeting of the Jefferson County Regional Planning Commission, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. Now we're to citizens' input, and they're still stacked the same. I'll call Mr. Brian Asbury to the podium, and he is wanting to speak, according to this, on C3.
Brian Asbury, Mike Asbury, 1122 West Dumpling Valley Road, Dandridge, Tennessee. I've got some comments on your C3. Oh, welcome. Glad to be here. Have some comments on the your C3 zoning. My concern is that you made a minimum size, but sometimes I'm concerned about the maximum size. So, usually when you're thinking like a contractor's office, you're probably thinking of something maybe 3 or 4 acres. But what's to keep somebody coming in with doing 120 acres with 120 pieces of equipment? Now, if a contractor's got 120 pieces of equipment parked, he's in a bind. But I think there should be some consideration to the size and some of the stuff in C3. The other thing that I have a concern about on the C3 was in the conditional uses, you had an indication of offensive noise, vibration, glare, and some other items. So if I can't see it or hear it, it's usually not going to be a problem. And so I think in the conditional uses, you put some clarification, but you didn't quantify anything, and I didn't see anything to quantify the noise and vibration and glare in the allowed uses. So I would think it would be a good idea to add some stuff for noise and light trespass in that, or if you wanted to do something all encompassing for all the county for light noise trespass is something I had some concern of in the C3. So now I'm going to switch on over on another note to their zoning in general. The word is out on Jefferson County as an easy mark. I read this has been on the website out on the web for a long time. I found this on Zillow. They're selling a piece of property on Highway 139, 44 acres, and one of the their selling points is currently the land is zoned A1, and which is in Jefferson County's most liberal zone, allowing farming, minimal commercial activity, subdivisions, homes, malls, double odds campgrounds, and limited multiple use family. So you got one person advertising about this. And then I was reading in the Standard Banner about a ribbon cutting the other day about a new entity moving into this area. And one of their things that they're going to be bringing in is a new venture dealing in rock quarries, mining, and related efforts. So everybody's looking at Jefferson County as a kind of a easy mark. And so, and with that, with our lack of ability to enforce things in Jefferson County, you know, we've got to get something going to stop some of this stuff, because I just can't imagine having another rock quarry too around, or mine or whatnot. And you've got a big facility that's coming in here that's, I mean, it's a big outfit. If you want to look it up, it's called MAC, M-A-C, all caps, M-A-C Materials, and it's a big outfit focused on mining and quarrying. So anyway, I just want you to be aware that people are sort of identifying us as a place to come do what you want.
Thank you, Mr. Asbury. Appreciate your input. And the next citizen input we have is from Mike Foley.
It's a non-agenda item, so do you want to wait till the other business?
Digital zoning map, regional planning on it. You being the only other one there is to speak, if you'd like to go ahead and speak,
Sure.
I'm going to take the liberty to give you that opportunity and move forward with it
Okay,
this
I
time.
appreciate it.
I think it's something I can do, and I'm not too far out of line doing so. Does anybody on the board have an issue with us
I don't
doing
know,
that?
he's a pretty rough feller, ain't that what he'll say?
I'll be coming out of that heat. You never know what's going to come out of my mouth now, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, good evening. Mike Foley, 318 Oak Vista Drive in Dandridge. If you recall, some months ago, Ms. Baldwin's predecessor, Jordan Rockwell, helped you folks create this digital zoning map. And I was looking for it on the county website, and I couldn't find it. So I was just curious if it is posted there, or if it isn't, what can we do to get it posted so citizens can access it? And the other thing I noticed was it looks like there might be some more work needed on it. I got a couple extra copies there for Stephanie and Catherine. But if you'll notice, there's a section there for adoption by the Board of County Commissioners, and also certified by each of the regional planning commissions for the 3 cities. So I didn't know if there was some extra steps that needed to be done to make this official, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And that's all I had.
Thank you very much. And Stephanie, I'm going to ask you a question about this. Did we ever see the map in its entirety, or did we just see the individual parcels that they brought in as
We
it had
had
no down?
the original one, a paper one.
Right.
And we also have the individual sheets for each one.
Right.
So we do have them all.
So you have the full zoning atlas. It's called the zoning atlas when you have all the pages.
I don't think he gave me all of it. I think all I have is a print, printed.
Yeah.
You don't have like.
We don't have each individual page. It was broken down into like 6 sections or 8 sections.
Yeah.
And this is,
I don't think I did. I mean, I can go back and look.
You're supposed to do some overlays.
yeah, there's supposed to be overlays done on it too. Mark's exactly right.
This is 10 years old at least?
No, this is stuff Jordan was working on last year.
Oh, yeah.
But it says adopted September 2011.
Yeah.
When he gave you a
That
new
was the last time that it was actually updated.
So it hasn't been updated since 2000.
Well, all
2011.
these amendments have been added.
Yeah, but your official zoning map has not been adopted. So do you want to go over the process to do that?
Should we do that under other business?
Yeah, I say we've done the citizen
In fact,
input.
it's going to fall under your annual work program, which is at the business.
No,
Yeah, that's,
we just got a couple of side plans here.
yeah, it shouldn't take too very long to go through that. I say we do that under other business, as long as anybody doesn't have a problem with that. Picking this back up then, okay? Okay, on to new business. And item A, a re-subdivision plat for lots 11 and 12, Clarence to Board subdivision lot, 3 lots off Harrison Ferry Road, White Pine, by Greg and Wendy Ivins. Is anyone here, you would step forward?
Larger copies of that also.
Okay.
And he also has his signed copies.
I do.
As we start looking at this, you should each have a copy of our planner's comments about this. Was that in your paperwork? Should be on the bottom. And it'll be down under Planning Commission. And Ms. Baldwin, if you would, I'm going to let you address the stuff you come up with on this site with him.
Did you get a copy of my staff comments?
Yes, ma'am, I did. And I think the map that you reviewed may have been our draft copy. A lot of these comments were addressed and should be addressed on the map that you
Okay,
see.
I got the one that was originally submitted for the agenda package.
Correct.
Maybe you can tell me which ones are on. Obviously,
There's a
your
surveyor's
seal's on
seal.
there.
Yes.
Signature block for water utility.
So I'll check them off as I go. Surveyor seal, your signature block for water utility provider.
So I had questions on those 3. So for the signature block for the water utility provider, the road superintendent, and the electric utility, in those certifications, it states that they're signing off on approval that things have been constructed as they were proposed. There's nothing being constructed. Those lines already exist.
But you are representing their utilities, and this is a thing you got to figure out.
Yeah.
Signature block for county road superintendent,
That's one of the ones he's talking about.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
And then-
signature block for your electric provider. All lots within that have mapped flood areas on them. Did you add the finished floor elevation for the building sites?
No, ma'am, so we're not proposing, this isn't a design plan, it's just subdividing the lots. And the subdivision regulations, we have to show adequate building size. And that's all that is. That's not where they plan to build. I don't even think these owners plan to build these lots. I think they plan to divide them and sell them.
Right,
So-
but that's the point is, I talked to the chairman about this. You do have a section of your subregs and your zoning ordinance that addresses FEMA requirements or the firm requirements. FEMA, and it states that the flats with mapped flood area, which you've got flood fringe, floodway, I assume 500, 100 in the floodway mapped on here.
Yes, and we actually located those contours. They're
I
not just
understand.
plotted, yeah.
FEMA requires you to put the finished floor elevations on there.
Okay.
Because one of the issues is once this is recorded, consider this how you relay information to a prospective builder or the end user, the buyer. They need to know what they're required to do.
Correct.
And if FEMA issues the flood insurance, what they will be required to have with mapped flood areas on here, they will have to have a finished floor elevation.
Okay,
So that has to be.
and that's
added.
just I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That is the finished floor elevation of the structure itself.
Right,
And I understand that so your building pad, because you also have a requirement that, in your zoning ordinance, that where you have floodplain, you cannot count it toward the minimum square footage to comply with the zoning ordinance.
correct,
Is that,
Right.
yeah. And
on that one? Okay.
And up in the top of the page, under subject property information, we have it divided off on how much square footage and acreage is above the 1,002 And then the total acreage of the
Okay.
lot, yes.
And the 30/40 on those pad sizes is what's above.
Right.
That's the
Correct,
percentage above,
yes.
so that's where it needs to be.
But you do not have the finished floor elevation.
Right.
I asked for notes that, and once again, we're trying to relay to folks who are not here. The owner won't know them, none of the planning commission members will know them, is that you cannot put fill material within any mat flood area. As far as the building pad, I'm glad you did that, but you also cannot limit them to this. So you've got your building envelope identified. If they don't want to meet that, I don't want someone to think that they have to.
Right, and that's not my intent by putting that there. We just have to show that there is adequate building.
Right, and you've done that in your notations or your calculations.
Okay. Okay, so we don't necessarily have to show that
We
rectangle.
want that saying, yes.
Okay, okay.
So, also, when you put a note on there about the finished floor elevation, the finished floor elevation also applies to any electrical improvements. So your HVAC units, where your electricity comes in the house, all of that has to be elevated.
Right.
And, especially with the most recent incidents of last October, I believe it is, FEMA is really starting to look at these areas. They are threatening to cancel flood insurance in some areas that are not honoring their requirements. So I want to make sure that we do this correctly. So those notes would need to be added. One of them was just a suggestion about the building pad. I really don't care whether it's on there or not, but I do want the end user to know that they're not relegated to that.
Okay.
I think earlier, and pardon me for interrupting.
No, you're good.
but I think we said we required that to be shown in each lot, that footage was there, that there is a
Yeah.
suitable place to build.
And
He
he's
does
done that
verbally,
here.
but we asked for it to be represented.
Yes, and when
in
they
the
issue
drawings.
the building permit,
We've seen on every, yeah,
Yeah.
the calculation, showing where that's at, where it's located.
for when they issue the building permit,
Absolutely.
you have to get a surveyor to certify the finished floor elevation. And as you inspect it, make sure that nothing is below that. So the firm, Federal Insurance Agency will be issuing flood, and they will require flood insurance on this.
Right, and probably elevation certificates on the finished building.
They will on the finished floor elevation, yes, sir. So once again, this is a way to notify the end user that they're going to have to comply with that, in addition to all electrical, and absolute no fill anywhere in a mat flood area.
Okay, okay, so just to clarify, on the finished floor elevation, we just need to add what the lowest possible finished floor elevation, like to meet the regulations for FEMA, correct?
It has
Which
to be
would be
1 foot
Above the 500 year, correct? Yeah, okay,
Unless the local government has adopted something higher,
okay,
but minimum is 1 foot above.
okay.
I'm assuming you haven't adopted a more restrictive
And that's what
requirement.
we talked about. We take what they suggest and that's
Yes.
what we adopt.
Yeah.
And we can add that. I have revised maps here. I received these comments on Friday, I believe. So being able to revise it and then go get all the signatures again, I wasn't able to. So I think the only thing that we don't have addressed on the revised plat there is the finished floor elevations. But we can add that. We have that data and can calculate it. We just don't have it shown.
Okay.
So that's
As
not a
long as you
problem.
put it on the signed copies, you can put it on. Nobody else can because you sealed it.
Right, okay. And then, as for the signature blocks, do they need to be added? Where do we stand with that?
That's a decision of the planning commission.
Okay. Okay.
Let me explain why I asked for those. One, the way your subdivision regulations are worded, it doesn't say if the utilities, it says, basically, he is representing infrastructure, and the provider of that infrastructure is saying, yes, he's represented it correctly. The other thing is, if he puts this on here, when it gets recorded, this information is uploaded digitally to state mapping. And it allows them to certify that information. So whenever you go on a state site, their information continues to get better and better and more accurate.
Which it needs to.
Which it needs to, and if you don't put it on here, they don't pick it up.
Right.
They don't get it.
Right.
And that's the reason that everyone is asking to have that information and to have those signature blocks on there so that they're certifying that that's okay. You did add the E911
Yes.
on here. Okay.
And with those signature blocks, with the water, just making sure that there's enough flow there to provide service. With the electricity, to make sure there's enough there to handle the load that could be potentially brought in. In the same way with the roads, and I think that's pretty much, it's already established there. Now, there's gonna be 3 more lots, it ain't gonna make a huge difference in the amount of,
Right, but who knows, it might.
No, but
They need to review
but
it
if
and
you've got
approve
it, you've got it.
Correct.
It also puts the utility districts on notice that they can expect new taps, new fees. Somebody's gonna walk in and say, I need electrical drop, probably a temporary drop that will be permanent. So it's also notifying them to get ready that there are additional lots coming and additional buildings. Otherwise, you're sending a contractor or the property owner in cold to say, well, where are you going? As opposed to, yes, we were expecting you. So it's a level of professionalism for the county and for the utility districts that are, at this point, is missing. And that's why I'm assuming it's in your subregs. And to be honest, every jurisdiction I work with, they insist on these things. So, but it's up to you. I don't care one way or another.
And I don't care to add them one way or another, I just was concerned about the language in it, because some of the language in those certifications is, whoever's signing off on it is saying that what we're proposing to be constructed has been constructed according to standards, but nothing new is being done.
And they all say that.
Okay.
That is a justification for you're adequately representing,
Yes, ma'am.
accurately representing
Okay.
their infrastructure.
Understood. All right.
With that being, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve item A contingent upon the completion of each of the comments in Ms. Baldwin's, and you have those comments,
Yes, I have them right
Okay.
here. Thank you.
that those be fulfilled.
Okay, and just to add clarity to this, if you don't mind, before I get a second on that, the 3 signature blocks and the verbiage about the required minimum height on the finished floor and electrical from FEMA.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what we're still looking for. The others have been taken care of, so we're looking for those 4.
Okay.
Do we have a proper motion? Do we have a second? Have a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of approving Austin's motion contingent upon those items being added, let me know by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ron. Next item is a site plan review for the addition of a new building to be constructed at Highlander Way, 1959 Highlander Way in Newmarket. Do we have someone here to represent them?
Hello,
Hello, sir.
I'm the co-executive director of Highlander. My name's Alan Maxfield Steele. It's good to see you all tonight.
Good to see you, sir. And from everything that we've seen or heard from this, you're building back pretty much in the same footprint of the building that was there before.
Correct.
And Stephanie, I think we had some information come to light about where they were nonprofit and
Yeah, the building department, a letter was done when the building burnt in 2021, that it was exempt from doing getting a building permit or inspections, because we don't do commercial inspections in the county.
Are you an architect?
I'm not. I'm a clergy person.
Because I've spoken to your architect on on several occasions?
Samuel Mortimer?
Yes.
He's the owner's representative.
Yes, oh,
Yeah.
he called me this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
I suggested he might want to check with the state of Tennessee, see if they would consider it community assembly because of the nature of your activities.
The building itself is an administrative office,
Okay.
so it won't be used for any community assemblies. It'll simply be, it's like our mail room and Xerox room.
So I didn't have any comments about this one really. And I think at the time, you have an architect that did seal the plans that are being submitted to the county.
Correct. It was like a clerical error, and the Xerox some of the details didn't get
Yes.
printed off in the final
So when you
paperwork.
have that, and it has a seal on it.
I think I bought a new one since our last meeting.
You should have received an email from Samuel with all the updated stuff, but if it's the seal,
If I did, I sent it, I emailed you what he sent me.
Okay, I think I had got the, well, he said that he would put it on there, or you've got a local architect.
with the architect of record, yes, yeah, we have an architect of record who's covered in Tennessee and Georgia.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was my only comment.
And it's got the information on here, it just doesn't have his seal, and it has a place for it to be added.
Our owner's rep does happen to be an architect, but he's functioning as an owner's rep, not our architect of record. So you wouldn't see the seal from Samuel Mortimer or the planning agency, you'd see it from MOSA Architects.
Most are, okay. And I think it's actually the address and the contact information that's above that on this I'm looking at.
Could you read it to me, if it's Atlanta or Georgia
It's
based?
2386 Flower Street, Southwest Suite E202, Sneeville, Georgia.
Correct,
Snellville,
that's
Georgia.
MOSA Architecture, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the architect of record.
That'd be them. Okay. But being that none of this is required by us,
Would the site plan still not be, like, where the actual building is?
it's going back on the same footprint of where it was before. So, I mean, all those, and that's actually, Ms. Baldwin actually spoke to that. She said and I will read if you don't mind, Kevin. It says, site plan for the improvements to the Highlander Center identifies a new office structure placed on the location of a building which was destroyed by fire. The remaining improvements on site have not changed. This includes all access roadways, parking, septic, and fill lines. Temporary structures will be removed upon completion of the new office building. It says staff spoke by phone with the applicant on several occasions and requested the site plan be sealed and sealed construction drawings be submitted current with the building permit application. So, going with that, and what you've told us, you can get that seal to us, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And in the letter in 2021, it also says a site plan does not need to be approved and the plans do not have a reference to building code as there will be no inspections. So we can get you the seal, it shouldn't be an issue.
I would request that just from a liability standpoint of the
Absolutely.
county.
Absolutely. So,
So with that being said, do we have any further questions? Being none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I move to approve item B, contingent upon the architect placing their seal on the site plan.
We have a proper motion. Do we have a second? A second. We have a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of approving with the architect's seal, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
thank y'all. Get it to you right away. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir. Okay, next item, we have a resolution 2024 amending the zoning resolution of Jefferson County, Tennessee regarding the new C3 zone, wholesale and warehouse commercial district, presented by Mr. Austin Brooks. I think as we left this, Ms. Baldwin was doing some research for us in some neighboring counties, and Ms. Baldwin, I asked you this time what you found.
It was interesting. I called Wilson County. You suggested speaking with Washington County. I talked to them for a couple times, and I also have talked to Sullivan County. The one issue that we have been playing around with was a cattle processing facility, because that is your largest agricultural product. And where can such a facility go? And by state law, such a facility has to be on sewer. So it has to be located in a district that can provide sewer, which and I don't know if that changed at some point, but it is a hard and fast rule at this point. In fact, the folks at those planning departments were like, they were surprised I was even asking the question. There's a lot of contaminants that go into that, and you would be introducing anything of that nature into the groundwater and subsequently into the rivers, lakes, et cetera, et cetera. And so it is expressly prohibited.
Was there a minimum or maximum number of head?
If you are on your own farm with your own cattle, you can go through,
Like you're exempt.
I don't think you're exempt. I still think it's totally regulated by the state.
You have to have a
Any
water
kind of-
treatment plant in place, but there is stipulations where you don't have to be on sewer, depending on the size of the operation.
Yes. And I think that
Which
is.
we allow now.
Right.
in the A1 zone.
Right.
Yes.
And I definitely don't want to disturb that.
As far as value added, Sullivan County did recognize that for value added processing for farm produce. Because it's more of a natural effluent that you're introducing into the septic system. So they said that they did allow that. Well, I'll take that back. Washington County actually, and I would like to look into this because we had discussed you have an A1 zone and that's it. Washington County has an A1 and an A3. And A1 is kind of what you would think it is. It's strictly agricultural, all the way up to A3, where it is the commercial aspect of agricultural businesses. They also use the conditional uses. If you'll remember, this had been written in here under item C, conditional uses. I had introduced conditions that would be determined by the BZA, and Washington County also used conditions. So I was really glad to hear that. Both counties are really well versed in that, or in looking at making agricultural more of a business thing, close to the farms, and allow you more production. But they do it by having additional zone districts, which you don't have.
No.
So I would like to, that we have the C3 before us, and it's been on your agenda now for a couple of meetings. The last meeting, we didn't really change anything. We discussed some things, but at the end of the day, it was requested that we delay this until I could get some more information. What I'd like to do is get some of their zoning criteria and come back with some agricultural amendments that would not be related to this. It would be in your A1 zone, and maybe even adding and maybe an A2 at least.
What did their A2 look like? Or do you remember off the top of your head?
It allowed a couple more things, but the A3 was the one that really allowed agricultural businesses.
What county are we talking about?
Washington.
Washington and Sullivan, the two looked at. And
Now you got to realize Washington has Johnson City, Jonesboro, no, Kingsport's in Sullivan, but Elizabethton. No, Elizabeth's in Carter County. So it's a very urbanized area. Like Gray is. I'm from that area, so Gray is a big area. It is urbanized. I mean, it used to be farm, but it's not anymore. They also have large, extensive areas of lakefront. Boone Lake is almost entirely in Washington County. There's some in Sullivan. So I guess what I have to report is, I think we need more work.
And the A1 would be the local farmer, private use, and he's gonna do a processing facility on his land where he does 20 head, 30 head, 40 head a year in sales. The A3 would be a Cargill.
Sorry, what's
Cargill, or
Swaggerty.
someone's Swaggerty, so it's a large commercial agricultural enterprise. And then A2 would be somewhere in the middle.
I think it was a kind of a real low density residential. Oh, I know what she said. You guys won't like this. Gentlemen farmers. That may be them.
Ain't no gentleman farmers whenever you're doing working cows.
No.
Well, they described it as someone that has
Doesn't make any money.
3 or 4 acres, maybe a fairly large house. They like the open space. They might have horses or a few
Looking for
horses
tax
or
credits.
something. But it is not, it is not a production farm by any means.
And I think it's some good information, and I'm not opposed at all to looking at a A1, a A2, or A3. One other county, since we've talked it, I think we need to look at would be Greene County. That's a pretty good comparison, especially with agricultural production in that county being likening to Jefferson County. If we could pull up some of their stuff, and I hate to keep
Kicking down the road.
Yeah, often, but if we do this right,
I think it's good discussion.
No,
It
this
is.
is how you do it. It takes a long time. You want to get it right because you start
Absolutely.
legislating this on people's property.
Yeah.
You don't want to make mistakes. So this is the way you do it.
Yes, sir.
While we're discussing this, I would like under conditional uses to remove item B, solar energy systems and wind energy systems as accessory use. Well, yeah, I'd like to remove that. Is it,
You're talking about under the conditional uses?
Now, would this hinder someone from
Hold on.
putting a small one in on their farm?
Let me
as
back
an
up.
accessory?
this would only be used to provide a utility to that property?
It's considered an accessory use
So, like,
provided they respect.
If you built a big barn and put panels on the top.
Yeah, and the way things are set up here, they would actually sell that generation back to the cooperative, and then it's a discount, it's a swapping hands of money, but they don't get to actually use it right there, but they get credits toward what they do use right
Yeah. Does the cooperative get the better end of that deal?
there. No, it's probably a service more than anything.
Well, I think we might want to rethink the wind energy system, though. I mean, the only thing I know about wind energy, I think about like the Midwest with the giant windmills.
But as an accessory use, it would have to be a pretty small one. Claiborne County has quite a few farms with some wind services. And I've seen quite a few farms with private.
Like Powell Valley or?
No, I mean, they just have their own personal.
No, I was referring to the actual valley, like
Oh,
farms.
okay, yeah.
Is that the big valley up in Harrogate? Yeah,
Heck, through Virginia, all the way down into Tazewell.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good farming. It's beautiful. Harrogate's one of my contracts.
On the value-added processing as it is in here, could a factory like Bush Beans fall into this category? And just so you know, Bush Beans owns,
Yeah,
I would say probably thousands of acres.
yeah. And I've taken a tour
Uh-huh.
of the Bush Beans facility. You could put a maximum. I mean, you're wanting to keep it small. I don't know what Bush Beans is. It's primarily in Cobb County, isn't it, or is it in?
So Bush Beans, the factory is completely in Jefferson County. A lot of their farmland is actually in Cosby,
Okay,
which, yeah, Cobb County.
which is Cobb County.
Yes.
Is some not in Sevier County as well? I think they have cattle running in Sevier County.
I think they have land wherever they
Yeah,
decide they
that's-
want it.
You know, they also have like a restaurant and
Oh, yeah.
a store and.
I'm not knocking Bush Beans. I'm just saying that putting this zone together, if I want, if you're on a rural area and you find out your neighbor's asking for this zone change for a welding business or something like that, that everyone doesn't get all up in arms, that we go, okay, the way this is written,
Don't get on norms.
yeah, I mean, we'd run out of something to do here, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
That's my goal.
So the reason I bring that up, if you found out something like Bush Beans was going in on some country road, that wouldn't be too appealing. So, though I do love to frequent the cafe up there. I just want to make sure we stay within the intent of the zone. So I'm curious, would adding I guess we'll go to the next section.
Well, now, this is a C3 zone, so you're looking at a commercial zone.
Yes, but I would, in my opinion, something the size of a Bush Beans would be industrial, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, I agree.
I certainly would not want to see the Bush Beans traffic going down county roads.
And just for sake of conversation, I don't know if we have very many pieces of land left in Jefferson County that would accommodate the size of a Bush Beans. Well, majority of what we do is already set up a land trust, for the most part. Now, there may be something out there we've not discussed or not looked at, but I think that may in itself limit the size of an operation.
I'm just talking about for the purposes of putting the definition. So I think maybe putting in some maximums might be, like I said, the intent was for the small businessman, because, obviously if you're super big, ultimately you need to be an industrial, just because some of these restrictions would prohibit a large business from growing.
Right. So, you want to take this back and look at it and look at some maximums?
Yeah, so I think, everybody on this board would do well to go look at those counties. And Catherine, if you could come up with some suggestions for maximums, understanding, I don't think I'm too far off as far as the intent and the goal here.
No, the one thing we don't have is an intent statement, and usually, well, I take that back.
On the front, yeah.
Yeah, the intent of this district is provide for. When you're thinking about this, we said minimum farm size 25 acres. What is your estimation would be the maximum size that someone would do?
So a lot of that came up when we started talking about the value-added processing. I still think the value-added processing, I would like to see that go into the agricultural zone somehow. I know we already have a few businesses within the county that are able to, I don't know if you'd call them an exemption, but they're permitted to operate on their farm as it is currently zoned because they produce their product complete in totality. So,
and I think John Neal's concern was they couldn't take any produce from any other farm.
Producers. Yeah.
Because that kicked them into industrial.
Yes.
And so you get an economies of scale by a processing plant. Now you think of every single farmer having his own processing plant. I think that's a big ask.
I do as well.
And it also, if you can't afford the processing plant, why grow the vegetables that would be processed? So I think you're also stymieing agricultural production of produce by keeping a lid on both of those things. You're forcing it into industrial areas, which raises the price up. Your industrial area should be concentrated around your exits for the interstate, so you don't have trucks going up and down the road. So you don't want to encourage those in your rural areas, but you want your rural areas to be successful. Mm-hmm. So this is, once again, this is the way that they could do it. And
I think the big deal with this was moving it out from conditional and putting it into permitted. That was John's big deal for that very reason. Was taking all these conditions off of it and putting it in permitted uses.
But his main deal was the cattle processing, the animal processing.
I never heard him say that. I always heard salsa.
I mean, yeah, he did.
Well,
that.
we also talked about
Mayonnaise
massage parlors.
Chocolate, yeah.
So
We got the chocolate milk.
we've got that, yeah.
One thing, I went to visit a farm up north, it's been 20 years ago, up above Chicago. I think Green Giant. And that night, the lady that owns the house, she came up, she said, don't drink the water. What are you talking? Even if you brush your teeth, you have to use bottled water. The pesticides has just ruined that whole area.
Absolutely.
And you can smell it in the water. I could smell it in the water, out of the tap water. You could smell a chemical smell. But
And
what
if you've got that, and since we started down that rabbit hole, and I will not dig very much deeper, but if you also look at what our federal government is doing and the health administration, they're also talking about fluoride that's in our public water today. And we're getting ready to see that taken out because of the damage it's done. So I agree with you. There needs to be a water treatment system in place, whether it be sewer. There's no perfect fix to all of it. Even those places that have sewer in surrounding counties are not perfect. I'll assure you that. But it's something we need to have in consideration with that. And I think that goes along with any of these type places. You know, those things have to be in place as far as the groundwater and stuff, and taking care of that, making sure we're not dumping pollutants into that. And I mean, they take the sewer water from Jefferson City and put it right back into Douglas Lake or to Cherokee Lake, and Dandridge right back into Cherokee. And so I mean, that's a whole, we could go a long way down if we wanted.
After it's been treated.
Yeah, after it's been treated.
I don't know if you can treat pesticides. They couldn't seemed like they couldn't get rid of it.
You open up the whole conversation there to PFAS.
Right.
And you know, and you're seeing that on farms today. And who's responsible for that? Is it the utility or the municipality that give away the stuff to the farmer to go out and spread? Is it the person that hauled it? They're looking try to see where they can pin liability for that. And that's another rabbit hole.
Talking about phosphates?
PFAS plastics. This
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
is
yeah.
coming through, and that's, you know, and if I've leased ground from Austin and I've put that on the ground I had leased from him, and it comes, am I liable? Is the municipality liable that sold me the stuff? And who done the test? And so there's a lot of that stuff you can get deep in the weeds on. But I think the sole reason we've had this discussion and so much discussion about this C3 and the permitted uses with the value added was to make a easier road for the agricultural producers of our county to maximize on potential profits. I think that's been the intent from the get-go. We're spending so much time on it. I'm completely at peace as looking at the maximum size of the thing. And if we quantify that, or if we put those restrictions on it, does that force it to fall into conditional, or can it be in permitted as long as it's done X, Y, and Z?
Well, if it's permitted, you can't conditionally permit something.
So you can't.
So that's why it's called a conditional use. You establish the conditions, and then it's the job of the BZA to determine compliance with the conditions.
Right, so there's.
So it gives it a smack of legitimacy and gives you opportunities. Let's say the processing item 5, the processing operation shall not generate excessive vehicular traffic. And that's not quantified, it's not defined, but there's a lot of things that, it depends on your roads. You know, if you've got a 2-lane road that really is not going to support farm trucks or a lot of farm trucks coming back and forth, then you can look at that and say, this isn't a good road for this. If your roads vary so much, I bet you have public right-of-way that is actually gravel at this point, correct? So your public road system varies a lot between a gravel lane and, 4-lane divided boulevard. So you try to get things that are not subjective, but at the end of the day, it gives the BZA some leeway to say, this is just too rural, to start encouraging activities like this. Now, if you keep, I do like the idea of a maximum farm size for doing this, or a maximum size of acreage to do value-added processing. I think that's a good idea, and it kind of sets a parameter. Right now, planning trends are, a lot of places are setting maximums. It has not been traditionally written that way, but you look at a Walmart that builds a parking lot and all the heat island, all the impervious surface for the day after Thanksgiving. It's too big. And so a lot of communities are starting to go, this is the minimum, but there's a maximum too. And I think that that's what you're looking at.
I was going to ask you a question, since this
Yeah.
is what you brought. If we looked at leaving the value added in the conditional uses, and we continually worked on those conditions till we come up with something that we were happy with, would you be at peace with taking slaughter or custom slaughterhouses out of the prohibited and allowing it to that value added?
I don't know that really gets it anywhere, though, if the state already requires it to be on sewer.
It depends upon the number of head to be on sewer.
What is the number of head to be on sewer?
That's,
If I'm not badly mistaken, when they were having the one that was right down the road from me that they were trying to get passed through, is like 25 to 30 head
Of cattle.
a week.
Oh, no, I was referring to like the law,
yeah.
not like a specific operation. Like, so, we have them in
But the
the,
25 to 30 head would be less than what you need for the sewer. They did have to have water treatment there. I thought that's where you were going with this as far as the sewer reclamation.
oh, okay. No, I was just curious.
And again, we've got it where the producer can do it in A1 currently, but he can't take product in from somebody else. So you allow it here and allow that person with those conditions to, if me and Austin, we've got a partnership, or we've got something going on, and I'm buying all your cattle off of you, it can be produced on my spot as long as we stay under the conditional limit of head per day on our water treatment.
So what would that, I'll be honest, I think it's extremely difficult to take a slaughterhouse and put it on a septic system. A friend of mine has one, and I think they do, is it like 20 a month or 24 a month they're allowed to do in the A1 zone? I mean, that's in our zoning.
Yeah, and I have to get,
Comes out to like 6 or 7 a week, I think, or 5 or 6 a week.
That's not enough.
yeah, and we've got a handful of those in the county right now. We're actually losing those as we speak. So let's research that and come back with that information, and instead of putting it prohibited, let's put that in conditional, and let's put those conditions on it up to what the state law allows.
Yeah, so I'd like to know the state law. I'd like to look at maximum size. I would, sorry, I've been in the sun a long time today, Mr. Chairman. There was something else. Oh, on the value-added processing, I just want to make sure that you wouldn't end up with something the size of like a bush beans. Because if that's the case, we're just creating another industrial zone at that point.
And we could look at the maximum on that as well.
Yeah.
In some of the conditions.
So,
Yeah, I'm just asking, just for
Yeah.
conversation.
So maximum lot size, acreage. I just said them. I'm struggling, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Square bells today. Round bells tomorrow.
That's all right, volunteers, we've still got some on the trailer, if y'all come to the house.
Oh, I've got one backed in the barn, yeah. Maximum lot size,
Number of head,
number of head, and I'd like to see where it stipulates that in the state. And then the third thing is, I just want to make sure that when we talk about this value-added processing, I mean, I don't know me and you are not going to go build a processing plant the size of bush beans.
No.
Unless you're kicking in about 98% of the funds on that one.
it doesn't shape to.
So I just want to make sure that we're not just opening up and having another industrial zone here. So,
I
And
look
I-
at this as being craft stuff, very specialized. You know, I noticed that y'all had your festival out here, Main Street Festival,
Yeah.
last Saturday.
Mhm.
We had one in Oak Ridge last Saturday. And I was surprised at the number of people who were selling canned goods that they had processed, they had labeled, and it was a lot.
That's the same deal right now we're facing too with the farmer's market. You can sell your beef, your
Right.
pork, but for you to get it processed,
Mhm.
you've got the road trip and back to have that product ready.
Yes.
And that's what makes things difficult.
For produce, I think that's this case as well.
A lot of stuff you do, a lot of stuff state Tennessee allows you to have a license to do it at your home kitchen.
Right, but they still can, if you're doing it now in Jeff County, you cannot take your neighbor's produce and process it.
Right. But boys, if we had
That
this in
way.
C3,
You
have a
could.
place for them to,
Yeah. And you would get, once again, there's an economies of scale on anything like that.
absolutely.
And if it's just what you're farming, you're only allowing really big commercial farms to make that produce or to do the value-added processing to produce that they can sell.
Right. And I don't mean to put anyone on the spot, but what's the rest of y'all's thoughts on this? I mean, if you have one.
She was, Todd was gonna make a comment earlier. We were talking about the A1, A2, and A3. I think we need to look at those and see what if you get a copy of that. I don't know who needs to get it, or if I need to get it, or what.
I can do it.
If you could get us a copy of
Okay.
that for us to look at, because that may resolve the slaughterhouse issue, which is the big one, that we all had problems with in the county. I think everybody here knows about that process. That the stink down there in Straw Plains about trying to do it or not do it, whatever. But I think if we looked at it as A2, hey, you can process 20 head of cattle, this is what you have to do, this is that, then that might be a step in the right direction. And then the slaughterhouse wouldn't even be part of the C3, wouldn't have to be part of the C3.
yeah.
And I think that would open it up for farmers to be able to process theirs and their neighbors, and we can put a cap on how many and try.
I want to
Because
ask,
we have no product, I take mine to bring back to get processed.
do you not run the risk of spot zoning?
Not with the conditional use, no.
But with the A2, A1, A2, A3.
Oh, now that, we would have to really look at seriously. And it's not bad to have a zone district on your books. I mean, it has to go on the books before you start using it.
Right.
So, I think that those are good options for you. I was gonna say, why don't I, contact the planners in those areas, download the information and send it to you, and you can review it in time to look at it for next
Yeah.
month.
Absolutely. And I've just got a question. You may have you may make me look silly right here, but could you not allow some of it, both of them?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So just if we allowed it in this C3, that wouldn't prohibit us from
allowing
allowing
it
it in
now at
A2?
A2?
or- Okay.
Yeah.
No,
And
in
I'm all
fact,
right with that too, because as rural as Jefferson County is, or was, I think that would take care of the farmers if we could do something else.
absolutely. You know, one of the things that I've used as an example when I've called around to ask questions are wineries. You got a lot of people in rural areas that are producing wine, and they're not growing all those grapes. They're taking them,
That's the only thing they did there. Yeah.
they're buying grapes from their neighbors. 'Cause you think of something like that, how many grapes it takes? Well, there may be one or two wineries. There are hundreds of guys producing wine. They're selling those grapes to somebody.
Absolutely.
And it's a real rural economic driver.
Yeah.
I think the sale from the rezoning part of it would be an easier sale to go from A1 to A2
Yeah.
instead of going from A1 to a C3.
It would.
And we can always put whatever limits we decide to put on A2. I thought within reason, you know more about that than I do.
Well, again, one of the things about when you have an emerging urbanization, for lack of a better word, of a rural area, you really want to keep your commercial areas in very specific nodes where there is traffic, and so that protects the rest of the land from skyrocketing in value. If you cover these, I mean, that is truly spot zoning where you got just some commercial over there and some commercial over here. If you don't concentrate it, you lose a lot of economies of scale of centralized service areas that are commercial. And if you put them out around the area, one, they become a nuisance. They become almost an attractive nuisance in the evening for your rural kids to go to, like a pool hall or something like that, because you've got those things scattered about in your, even in your A1 zone. So I mean, in looking at it, even when you look at this, look at that area of blue. And just by default and typical land use patterns, I can see your road network right here. And everything that is commercial is kind of scattered around it. Got something out here, I don't know what that is.
I thought blue was the lakes.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, I think the lake is blue.
Catfish farming.
So, but those are areas you want to protect while very much encouraging. But the one thing you don't want to do is have commercial along an entire corridor like that. You want to encourage nodes, so you don't just have commercial on it. At that point, the problem becomes your very roads that are supposed to carry volumes of traffic can't do it anymore because they just lost all their capacity.
So we don't want a Kingsman Tire.
You travel it.
I do enough. Austin, what would you like to do before this goes?
Mr. Chairman, I move to roll item C to the next meeting, and again, encourage everybody to go look at the zoning districts in those counties. And I'd also make a comment on what Mr. Bales said as far as looking at the A1 and A2, or, well, we have A1, the A2 and A3 districts in those other counties, and how those things could be applicable in Jefferson County.
Are you out pleased for taking a look at Greene County as well?
Yeah.
Is that in?
Yeah. Yeah, and I can download sections of the zoning ordinance and create a PDF and email it to you.
Okay.
So you don't have to, you're not used to looking at other people's zoning ordinances, sometimes it's hard to find.
Okay, we have a proper
I
motion.
did make
We have
motion.
a-
I'll second that
Have a
motion.
second.
Move on.
Do we have any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of Austin's motion, please be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And we're to item D on the agenda, discussion to confirm that all plat survey reviews and approvals must be done by the Regional Planning Commission, and the Regional Planning Commission should decide in the future to authorize reviews only, not approvals, by a non-planning commission staff member. This can only be done by following Tennessee State Code annotates. And this is being presented by Mr. Bob Verzanigan. Bob, as we get ready to go through this, I have something I'd like to hand out to our planning commissioners. And I'll let you go ahead and move forward as I'm doing so. What you'd like to say about it?
Is this the report from the Attorney General? I'm sorry, from the county attorney?
This is a preliminary memorandum on this, and I will be more than happy to read it. Andy, take one of them, pass them around. It'll take me forever to get them out. And if you'd like me to do that at the start, I'm more than happy to. If you want me to wait till you, talk about, what you have here on the
No,
agenda.
I'd like to know what the county attorney found, what his research
Okay.
found.
Now, again, this is preliminary, and this goes back, I'll wait till everyone has a copy of it. This goes back to what Catherine had kind of shared with us too. And I requested this, so he addressed it to me. And it says, Chairman, pursuant to your request, I researched the issue with Jefferson County zoning officer. Official has the authority to sign, I'll start over. Chairman, pursuant to your request, I researched the issue of whether Jefferson County zoning officer official,
Excuse me, could you use the mic?
it's on, it's,
Maybe just a little closer. Thank
Okay.
you.
are you recording?
No,
Okay, I'm just making sure. Chairman,
I'm just listening.
pursuant to your request, I researched the issue of whether Jefferson County zoning official had or has the authority to sign off or approve two-lot subdivision plats without the approval of Jefferson County Regional Planning Commission. Hereinafter we referred to as the RPC. Initially, I would note that my conclusions on the issues remain preliminary as explained herein. And I spoke with him again. He has some other stuff that he's wanting to get together, but this will kind of give you the direction of where things are going. Tennessee law, the controlling statute regarding approval and signing of subdivision plats in Tennessee counties is Tennessee Code annotated 13-3-402. The relevant portions of the current version of this statute are below. A says, from and after the time when the Regional Planning Commission of any region as defined and created by the Department of Economic and Community Development has adopted a regional plan which includes at least a major road plan or has progressed in its planning to the state of the making and adoption of a major road plan and has filed a certified copy of such major road plan in the office or offices of the county register or registers of the county or counties lying in whole or in part in such region, then no plat of a subdivision of land within such region other than the land located within the boundaries of any municipal corporation shall be filed for record or recorded until it has been approved by such regional planning commission or the staff of the regional planning commission, if this responsibility has been delegated to the staff by the regional planning commission as provided in subsection C. And such approval endorsed in writing on the plat by the secretary of the commission or by other designee of the regional planning commission, provided that if the plat of subdivision divided has tracked into no more than 25 lots, if the development received preliminary plat approval through the regional planning commission, or 5 lots if the development did not require preliminary plan approval through the regional planning commission. The approval may be endorsed in writing on the plat by the secretary of the commission or by the other designee of the regional planning commission without the approval of the regional planning commission and upon certification by the regional planning commission or by the planning staff of the regional planning commission if the commission has delegated this responsibility to its planning staff pursuant to subsection C. That the subdivision complies with such regulations governing the subdivisions of land and has been adopted by the Regional Planning Commission pursuant 13-3-403. Provided further that no request of variance from the regulations has been requested. Page 2. A regional planning commission may delegate the responsibility for approval of the subdivision plat to the staff of the regional planning commission by a majority vote of the regional planning commission that is taken in a public meeting after being placed on the regional planning commission's agenda, or meeting agenda, and notice being provided as required for other matters before the regional planning commission. A regional planning commission may only delegate the responsibility of approval for subdivisions plat that includes no more than 25 acre lots only if the development received preliminary plan approval through the Regional Planning Commission. No more than 5 lots if the development did not require preliminary plan approval through the Regional Planning Commission. The subdivision complies with such regulations governing a subdivision of land as adopted in the Regional Planning Commission pursuant 13-3-403. No request for a variance from such regulations has been requested, and a division of land requiring new road or utility construction is not approved by the planning staff under the subsection C unless the plan received preliminary approval by the RPC. A RPC shall not delegate to his planning staff the authority to preliminary approve final approval of or certify a subdivision plat regardless of the number of lots proposed for the subdivision plan consistent with the parameters of this section unless each county and municipal legislative body lying in the whole or in part within and subject to the jurisdiction of the Regional Planning Commission approves such delegation by the majority vote of the respective legislative bodies. Tennessee Code Annotated 13-3-402. I have also attached a copy of the current version of this statute. And I'm more than happy to continue to read that. But it says, my review of the compliers notes of this statute indicate it has undergone at least 5 revisions since 2004. I do not have access to the old 406 of the statute, and I'm running down copies of the same. I do have the 2010 version, and it states as follows. It says, from and after the time when the Regional Planning Commission of any region as defined and created by the Department of Economic and Community Development has adopted a regional planning. I'm going to continue to read it. I'll start over again, part A. From and after the time when the Regional Planning Commission of any region has defined and created by the Department of Economic and Community Development has adopted a regional plan which includes at least a major road plan or has progressed in its planning to the state of the making and adoption of a major road plan and has filed a certified copy of such major road plan in the office or offices of the county register or registers of the county or counties lying in whole or in part in such a region, then no plat of a subdivision of land within such region other than land located within the boundaries of any municipal corporation shall be filed for record or recorded until it has been approved by such regional planning commission and such approval endorsed in writing on the plat. We have, it goes on to say, we have listened to a recording of a portion of this meeting. Wait, pardon me, I've got out of line. Yeah, it got mixed up, yeah. Well, it's
The
just-
last page was actually
yeah.
supposed to be the third
Yeah,
page.
the last page should be the third.
So by the secretary?
By the Secretary of the Commission or by other designee of the Regional Planning Commission, provided that if the plat of subdivision divides the tract into no more than 2 lots, the approval might be endorsed in writing on the plat by the Secretary of the Planning Commission or by other designee of the Regional Planning Commission without the approval of the Regional Planning Commission upon certification by the planning staff of the Regional Planning Commission that the subdivision complies with such regulations governing a subdivision of land as have been adopted by the Regional Planning Commission pursuant 13-3-403, provided further that no request for variance from such regulations has been requested. It says, I have attached a copy of the 2010 version of this memorandum. I believe that prior to the amendment of the TCA 13-3-402 in 2004 and thereafter, the statute permitted the RPC to delegate to planning staff, the RPC secretary, or RPC designee to sign 2-lot subdivisions without approval of the RPC. Again, I'm trying to obtain the actual copy of the pre- and post-amendment 04 through 06 versions of the statute. It may be that the statute provides the RPC the authority to delegate approval of 2-lot subdivisions to only one or a combination of these identified persons. I will confirm that once I obtain a copy. It says, I further believe that the statute was again amended in 06 and may have also addressed the RPC delegation of approval of 2-lot subdivisions. If it was not amended between 06 and 10, then the 10 version would have been applicable at the time. Regardless, there is no question, and this is kind of summing things up, Regardless, there is no question that for at least 20-plus years, Tennessee Code Annotates 13-3-42 has permitted an RPC to delegate approval of subdivision plats a certain number of lots, in parentheses, 2 to 25, and Ms. Baldwin, I think that's the exact numbers you shared with us, to planning staff, RPC secretary, and/or other RPC designees. It says, I have provided the minutes from the November 2006 RPC meeting and a policy dated 2003. The review of the RPC minutes has not been completed. We have also listened to recordings of a number of meetings, some dating back to '03. I would note that the recordings are not of the best quality and the review has not been completed. The following has been found. A copy of a policy was found regarding the delegation of the approval of signing two-lot subdivisions, and I have a copy of that. The RPC minutes reflect the following. Signing of subdivision plats, and this is from November 13th, 2006. The commission did not have a secretary, and on a motion by Mr. Schrader and a second by Mr. Renault, the commission unanimously voted to authorize Mr. Tim Seals to sign and approve subdivision plats. And I have a copy of those minutes as well. It says, we have listed recordings of portion of this meeting. However, the recording ends prior to the adjournment of the meeting. I understand that Mr. Rustin is searching the tapes, continuing, and they're still researching that. I have interviewed Tim Seals and a former member of the RPC. Both have indicated that they recall the RPC delegating the approval of signing two-lot subdivision plats to an RPC designee. They were unsure of the date. We have that in the minutes, though, from 2006. And it goes on to say, while research continues on this issue, it appears at this time from the foregoing that the practice of permitting planning staff, the RPC secretary, and/or the zoning officer to approve the two-lot subdivision plats has been followed since the early 2000s, if not earlier. And we have reached out to previous chairmen of the Planning Commission, and her name was Karen Everett, chairman, and she would come in the late 80s, early 90s, and zoning didn't start here till 98, so this probably predates that they allowed these two-lot subdivisions to be signed, according to verbal interviews. We have the minutes from the 06 meeting. It says, hundreds of such plats have likely been recorded, property sales consummated, documents of conveyance recorded, mortgages and loans obtained, utilities installed and run, homes and structures built, bought, and sold, etc., in reliance upon these recorded plats. And by implication, the approvals and signatures by these persons. Regardless of what further research might disclose, I do not believe that every recorded two-lot subdivision plat would somehow become invalid or void. He goes on to say, and I share this, and I'm not giving legal advice, and he is not either to you. It says, however, if an affected citizen believes that at a certain plat, approval, or procedure of the RPC somehow is invalid or void, or believe a property owner is violating the subdivision regulations or zoning regulations or the resolutions of Jefferson County, they certainly have the right to challenge same and seek whatever remedies they might have, assuming they have legal standing on such a matter. And he says he'll update me when he has continued his research. So, but we do see where Tim Seals, the office he sat in, because the Planning Commission did not have a secretary, he was voted on unanimously. We have who made the motion, we have who seconded the motion to give him the authority to do, and that person in that office the authority to do. I don't think it was just specifically to Tim Seals. He was the one named because he sat in that position at that point in time. So with that being said, I don't feel very comfortable with going a whole lot farther until we have the rest of Mr. Drennan's research made available to us. But that's what I have to update on.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
that is not a two-plat subdivision. Over there, next to us where we live, in the Forest Glen Estate, there's construction going on there. During the Easter holidays, there were 200 people celebrating Easter in that little property. Right now, there are construction workers over there creating a short-term rental complex which will house something close to 80 to 100 people living in that area. One of the greatest waves that's coming towards us, and maybe Catherine could verify this, next to us at Sevier County, where this Grace Construction is based, Sevier County has the largest saturated STRs in the world. There are approximately 58,000 short-term rentals in Sevier County, and they're coming in this direction. That two-plot subdivision we're talking about is just the tip of the spear of the movement of short-term rentals that's going to overwhelm this county. It's going to overwhelm, because there's another thing that's happening. There's an unpronounceable French name, this company that's coming at exit 407. It's called Puy de Fou. Nobody can even pronounce that. But that is a global company like Disney World. It makes Disney World something really small. There's going to be thousands, hundreds of thousands of people coming at 407 and wanting to, they can't go to Sevier County because it's saturated. There's no place to, what they're going to come, and we're already about, talking about C3 or C2 or whatever. Our county is going to be saturated with STRs, and they're coming in this direction. Unless we stop things like that, this county's doomed. And we're debating all this, I'm listening to all this conversation. Our county is going to disappear unless we do something about these STRs that's appeared in my area. And I'm concerned about it. And that's the reason I came in this committee, to stop this thing from happening.
Bob, I would urge you to control your temper.
Pardon me?
I would urge you to control your temper.
I am controlling my temper. When I
Okay.
graduated and got my PhD, my professor told me the most important words in the English language is wait a minute. I've waited a minute, and I've listened to all this, and I'm debating, listening to you about, the things that you want. What I want is to prevent this county from going downhill, and I'm saying that STR in next to me in my subdivision is a spear that's going to destroy this county, and I'm not exaggerating. And I want you all to do something about it.
Okay, I think there is some stuff in the. Okay, I've got, somebody answer this question for me. There's some stuff in the work right now about short-term rentals.
We're trying to get ahead of the game on the short-term rentals I find it hard to stop somebody from renting their property, so what we're trying to do is get it to where we can control it, where we can receive the tax money coming in from it. And it's a process, it's a slow process. You've been at many of the meetings, you know what I'm talking about. I can't say, Brian, you can't rent your house out. To me, that's infringing on your property rights, and I understand if he has 400 of them, and I've got a little house next door to it, I'm not gonna be happy about that, but that's where we're at. So we are working on that, and forgive me, I wanna say it ain't the person, I can't even think of the name of the committee, I'm on so many of them.
Public service.
Public service, thank you.
Okay.
Public Service Committee is working on that. We have been working on that. And it's a slow process, but I feel like Katie and Jen Norton, and I'm on there too, but I take none of the credit because they are much better at that stuff than I am. I feel like they are trying their best to do a good job on that and to get something to bring forth to at least capture some of the money from that. in a way that we can benefit the county and to control it and at least make sure that we don't have every Tom, Dick, and Harry out here renting out a shed that's got sewage running out on the ground, because that is one of the issues that we've talked about where it's actually happening in Jefferson County. They have sewage, the guy lives out of state, and he can't do it now. So can't do anything about it to a certain extent.
You say it's near the dam?
I'm not sure where it's at, to be honest with you.
Maybe
I
they're
did say
close
that.
to it, yeah. That's a-
No, I actually about said the word, but the thing is,
Slow.
You throw the preserver.
we are trying our best and working. I'm gonna say they are working. Janet and Katie are working very diligently. I believe you've been to some of the meetings.
I drafted the ordinance.
There you go.
That's the FI4 thing.
I'm definitely
Doing the
going
best to give you the
Catherine,
floor.
do you disagree with the observations I made? Do you disagree with what I just said?
I'm waiting for the chairman. to say.
I'm gonna let her sum it up. Let me let
I mean, she's
Austin say, she's gonna.
She's the expert on everything. She takes about 80% of our time talking. I'm going to ask the expert, did I say anything wrong that you disagree with regarding the direction of STRs going in our area?
And I think I'm going to recognize, the chairman needs
she's
to
gonna
make
go
the
for-
judgment call.
I'm gonna give Austin the floor for just a moment, and I'm gonna let her sum this up.
Okay, fine.
Go ahead, Austin.
Mr. Chairman, after hearing you read the report from the county attorney, I'm looking at I guess this is a caption of the minutes,
Yes.
and it looks like they put, you see, the commission unanimously, that's the RPC, the commission unanimously voted to authorize Mr. Tim Sills to sign approved subdivision plats. So obviously for a very long time, Pop was the designee. With that being said, would you, while you're talking to the attorney about this, would you ask, now that Pop is out of the office, does the designee, does that need to be updated?
And that will be part of the conversation and has been preliminarily.
Uh-huh.
Was it him himself or him as the office?
Yeah,
The position he held in the county.
yeah.
And Tim
Just-
happened to be that position.
Yeah, because the way it read in the TCA code, you have a designee, or it could be like you said, the office. So, anyway, that was my comment.
Okay, thank you, Austin. And Ms. Baldwin, if you would now give you the floor and let you bring all this together.
Okay. One, you're using phrases interchangeably that are not interchangeable phrases, okay, first of all. Because short-term rentals have nothing to do with plats. Short-term
No,
rental.
they don't. Catherine, I'm not arguing.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
it's my turn.
Listen,
I have the
listen,
floor.
we only talk about. Go ahead.
I have the floor. It is true, we've got a short-term rental provision under consideration. It will license and institute an inspection program to make sure that they are safe. That's what the short-term rental program does. It will also charge a fee that goes to the county that will establish a revenue stream for running the program where you can keep track of where they are and that they are compliant with the requirements. So that's just short-term rental. Anything that is being built to accommodate 80 individuals is not short-term rental. That is something that the state of Tennessee refers to as group assembly. And if that is ongoing, then the county should address it and bring in the state of Tennessee, because that is not what the property is zoned for. And if it has that many people, it literally falls under their jurisdiction to inspect it.
So what would the process look like involving the county if that's what's taking place?
I report it to the state of Tennessee Fire Marshal's office.
Okay, and do we need proof that that's what's taking place?
Yeah, well, I would,
And
yes.
what kind of proof would you need?
Yeah, I mean, the state fire marshal is not gonna come in and look at something without, just you calling saying this is happening, or the neighbor saying this is happening. I think they would want pictures or something along those lines. But once again, if they are outside of the realm of building one house on one lot, because it is a R1 zone district, I believe, is it R1? A1, but that's still one house per lot. These are small lots. We approved 3 of them, or 3 were recorded.
Two were recorded.
There was the original one with the original house on it, and then there were 2 more, I believe.
No, that was requested, but they ended up putting the 2 structures together.
And what about the
So-
existing structure was on there?
So-
Well, let's talk about that later.
Okay.
Okay. So, but that is a plat. So if what you were saying is ongoing there, the county needs to take the steps to document it. You need to send somebody out there to document that. And then if it is anything other than that allowed by zoning, it's a zoning violation, it should be reported to the state fire marshal's office, because it is truly group assembly. Short-term rental is a great program, but it is not a land use. The land use is a single-family detached house, and they're allowed. How it's owned and what is done with it is not land use, so it's not governed by your zoning ordinance. It's outside the boundaries of your zoning ordinance. As far as the issue at hand, because we do not have short-term rentals on the agenda. That's not what this that's not what this consideration is. So let's set that aside. Let's set aside the 80 individuals that you say are going to be accommodated on this property. Let's set that aside. So we're just looking at 2-lot subdivisions. Now, I've discussed this at length with an attorney with CTAS, and on your, the last page of your little handout, let me go over one paragraph that he and I went over together.
And listen, I will not comment on it without Mr. Drennan being here, since it's his
Okay.
work.
But
It'll be a need to be a conversation.
But I
with him.
want to read this to you, and then I want to make a suggestion. So I'm just going to start at the top. By the Secretary of the Commission or another designee of the Regional Planning Commission, provided that if the plat of a subdivision divides the tract into no more than 2 lots, the approval may be endorsed in writing on the plat by 1, the Secretary of the Planning Commission. Okay? That's clear who that person is. It is the woman that sits right there, is not here.
Sue Springfield.
Right. Okay, 2, the next statement, or by another designee of the Regional Planning Commission. Mr. Edwards says that that designee has to be a member of the Planning Commission. And typically, if the secretary is not available and you're looking to close on property, that is by default the chairman of the Planning Commission. Because at that point, it goes on to say, secretary or another designee, without the approval of the Regional Planning Commission, and this is the important part, upon certification by the planning staff of the Regional Planning Commission that the subdivision complies with such regulations governing a subdivision of land as has been adopted by the Regional Planning Commission pursuant to 13. So what the staff is allowed to do is determine compliance of the plat with your subdivision regulations. The signature is either the secretary or a designee of the Regional Planning Commission, 1 or 2. Now, what I think you guys need to do, pass another resolution that says Stephanie has the approval, instead of fighting about it or going back and forth about it. This is a very common practice. I've got like 4 2-lot subdivisions from jurisdictions this week, and I review them, I approve them, I've got a pat thing I send to the secretary, it's time to sign this. I have never signed a plat. I've never talked to a planner who has signed a plat, which is very indicative to me. However, the approval of 2-lot subdivisions by the staff of a planning commission, municipal, regional, county, is as common as white bread. Everybody does this. In fact, if you revoke that, you would be the only county that would not allow it. So I think it's just cut to the chase, pass a resolution that says all 2-lot subdivisions can be approved by your staff. She will determine compliance. She will send it to the secretary. And if you have someone else, the secretary is not available, I suggest you make the chairman the other designee of the planning commission.
Let me ask a question on that,
And be done with it. Be done with it.
If-
This is ridiculous.
if it doesn't say, where does it say that it has to be the chairman or it has to be a person of the planning commission? Because here it says regional planning commission may delegate the responsibility for approval of a subdivision plat to the staff, and this is Tennessee Code annotated, to the staff, approval of subdivision plat to the staff of the regional planning commission by the majority. It says staff of the regional.
Right, but that's for approval of a subdivision plat. They are determining compliance with your subregs.
Right, the approval, regional planning commission may delegate responsibility of approval, and regional planning may delegate the responsibility of the approval, subdivision plat, and it goes through that.
Right.
And then it went on to say.
And then it goes back to say again, the secretary of the commission or by another designee of the regional planning commission.
That is the newest regs, but that was not the regs in 2010 when this was put into place.
I'm not going to.
Right, and that's why the lawyers need to talk about that.
And this is
Yeah.
CTAS's attorney.
Yeah,
So
well,
this is
and
not.
that's- And he's Jefferson County's attorney, and
I
they
understand
need
that,
to
sir,
work that out.
but just the fact that when I asked CTAS, do you know any jurisdiction that allows a staff person to sign a plat? The answer was no. They approve them, they cannot sign.
Okay.
But again, if you could just put all this to rest. Next planning commission put in a resolution by this body to designate Stephanie to approve 2-lot subdivisions with the understanding that the secretary will sign them and/or another designee of the planning commission, which should be chairman.
And that's at peace with doing so if that need be. But the approval is done, and it's just waiting for a signature.
Yes.
As you said, you had 4 this week. We've got 4 since Tuesday land back here that can't be signed tonight that's being held up.
Right.
Because our secretary isn't here.
Because your secretary isn't here, but that verbiage, another designee of the planning commission.
Yeah, and that's, I would
Is-
definitely want.
You can ask Drennan about that. And if he has any questions, have him call Sam Edwards.
Okay. Did he?
Huh?
Probably already have.
Maybe. Sam and I discussed
Yeah,
this
and
at
that's
length.
1402, or 402.
Yeah.
403 was the one that was in place whenever they designated
Yeah,
themselves.
and every year, the legislature introduces amendments. It was 3 years ago that they said you could, but they started out by, years ago, saying you can do 2, staff can do 2. Then they changed it to staff can do 5, as long as it is a minor subdivision with, now, there's some caveats here. No variances, no dedication of utilities, electric, service, water, sewer, or roads.
Right.
Automatically, it doesn't matter what the size is, that has to be approved by the planning commission.
Right.
Has to be by this body. Then they, 3 years, so it's gone from 2 to 5 to 25. 25 was done, I think, 3 years ago. And it is, the only place I know that is doing that is Middle Tennessee, where, like a Franklin or Williamson County, where you've got subdivisions with, 3,500 lots and you're picking off phases. And you've done all the preliminary, keep in mind, I've said this many, many times, the plat with the meat in it is your preliminary plat, because that's your road and drainage plan. And that is very important. 25 is Now, I don't agree with the legislature.
And we don't want that.
No, I would not do it. I would not take the liability for doing it. But two is, I mean, that's just pat. Everybody does that. But they do follow the procedure of the secretary or the chairman. So I would,
I think you had something you want to say or
I just
second
want
ago.
to know what the threshold of group assembly is.
I'm sorry?
The threshold of group assembly. 50, 45 over 50.
That's a good question. I don't know, but I know it's 80. 80 is up. It's stipulated in your fire code, but it is not locally adopted fire codes. It is state fire codes that applies statewide.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. A church, I don't care what the size of the church is, the local fire marshal cannot approve it. A state fire marshal must approve a church. Anything where you have a large group of people that are assembled has to have state fire marshal approval, because they don't only look at the fire system, the suppression system, the volume, everything about your water system. That typically requires a sprinkler system, but they also look at ingress, egress, and how you are notifying people to exit a building.
Go ahead, Bob.
Brian, may I request, I mean, I made my little emotional speech upset you, but, you know,
I'm not upset at all,
explain.
Bob.
That's the way professors talk.
Yeah, not upset at all.
I'm requesting, Catherine, I'm requesting you and this committee to go and take a look at that subdivision that we're talking about and convince me that that was just a two-plat subdivision, not a short-term complex. I am saying that two-plat subdivision, which is to me a short-term complex, is the future of this county.
May I-
Can I just
may-
finish?
may I-
May I make a couple of comments? When I was going to Bush Beans, at the Bush Beans, you take a right turn to go to Sevierville, take a left turn to go to Newburgh. Gail and I went over to that nice restaurant that you were talking about. I stopped at that point, and we couldn't make it to left or right, and I saw a whole bunch of cars, bumper to bumper, going up Chestnut Hill Road. I said, gee, somebody very important must have had a funeral and somebody died. Brian, from that point, all the way down to 20 miles down towards Sevierville, cars were lined back to back. This was Sunday afternoon. Those are the people leaving Sevierville after they're spending the time in Dollywood and Sevierville. They were coming back. Where were they going? They were going right to Newport or left to our county. What I'm saying to you, and I'm trying to explain, maybe too emotionally, that when we're talking about minutia about two-part plat subdivision, we are facing really a disastrous onflow of short terms that are coming towards us. Everybody that has a farm, a land, a barn, or whatever is going to turn. Do you realize that 8, 10 short-term rentals can generate almost $250,000 a year? I think all the farmers around here, the people around here, once this flow starts coming here, people are going to start selling their land and selling it as short-term rentals. And that's what I'm concerned about. And I'm saying to you, that complex over there is just the sign of things to come. Maybe I'm being too emotional, but please record this, because I'm going to be gone in a few years. I'm 88 years old. I'm going to be gone. But 10, 12 years, when your children look at this county and see it totally destroyed, and we're talking about farming, talking about slaughterhouses, then none of that's going to be here, Brian. It's going to be short-term rentals because people are going to make money. And that's what I'm concerned about.
At the rate we're going today, they're definitely not going to be here. The ones we had, we didn't allow. But to address back to what's on the agenda, we have nothing to do with that short-term rental.
Okay.
And as extravagant as that place may be, and he wants to make it a short-term rental, and they figure out how they're going to handle that as far as the county and collecting monies off of it, that's fine. They can rent it to a family of 8, a family of 10. You know, they can do that the way things are currently. I don't think they can to 80. I have some questions I would like answered that comes up. The fire deal, the 80 or ever how many, they have to be inside the
I was
home.
just using that.
Yeah, do they have to be inside the home at one time? I mean, if you've got people in the field, and I'm thinking, how do you do it Bonnaroo? How do you, in the country on farmland, how do you do a festival? How do you do a farm day? Soil conservation or?
That's in a school, right?
No, that's on county farms where projects have been done.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, I mean, and those are not continual events, but they're occasional events. So is that stuff we want to look at governing too? You know, with what they're allowed to do on the land, I think there are people in place and committees in place to work on the short-term rentals. The whole two-lot subdivision deal, and that's what went on over there, I think we're putting that to rest. They're in compliance with the two-lot subdivision.
I don't know if they are or not.
According to everything that we've seen and the folks that have been out there have no idea about the people there. But if there's pictures of people there, if there's video of people there, then we can notify the state, but we as the county can't go over there and tear it down and run them off, to my knowledge.
I'll bring some pictures and videos for our next meeting.
We don't need that here at the meeting. That goes to the office and it goes on the state. We have nothing to do with that.
It's just a warning, that's what I'm just telling you. It's, you know,
Understand that, but it's, again, we can't do anything about them having a short-term rental
In this spot.
in this body. And there's a committee in place to handle those
I'm part of
things.
that committee. They're right here. I'm part of that committee.
Okay, so if they're handling it, why are we talking about it?
Because
We're
it
coming.
keeps getting delayed. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, okay, but still, we can't do anything about that. So,
The short-term rental provision is not anything the planning commission has jurisdiction over. Most planning commissions have assumed that authority, or it's been referred to them by the legislative body, but it is a freestanding resolution adopted by the legislative body. It does not have anything or refer anything back to the planning commission for consideration.
okay.
This is, yeah, no, it would not come back here. But we've got, the committee that's been working on it is some advisors, and I think it's most of the county commission and the county mayor.
So do we have any more discussion on item D?
Once again, your main concern is not the two-lot subdivision.
I'm thinking about the future.
But I don't think that that's your issue. I think the thing that makes you upset is the actual land use occurring on the property, and that it is outside the bounds of the zoning ordinance and the zoning designation.
I think those people fool.
Right.
That's what I'm concerned about. They use that as an excuse to sneak in a short-term rental complex.
Do we have any further discussion?
What are we doing with this item?
It was only for discussion.
We're gonna hold on the next meeting, or you want to do a resolution?
Discussion to confirm that all plat survey reviews and approval must be done by the Regional Planning Commission. Thank you for reeling me back in. I said we're waiting on the rest of our lawyer's findings and stuff like that, so I will entertain the motion. Bob's the one who presented this.
I'm sorry.
I said you presented this item. I said I'll entertain a motion to roll this to next month.
I'll make a motion to roll it next one.
We have a proper motion. We have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Okay, other business. Ms. Baldwin, I think you have something.
Maybe this is really timely.
Hopefully.
So there is, did they get a copy of that thing? So,
No, but I can go make some real quick. Brian had his copy tonight.
okay, so the East Tennessee Development District is basically codifying the services that are offered under your contract. Your contract with the Development District is based on the population of the governing jurisdiction. And that is a list of everything that we offer and do. Most of it is maintenance, and I think they're trying to put people on notice, and there are a couple of jurisdictions in this area that have come forward and said, okay, we're not wanting to maintain our zoning ordinance, we want a brand new one, and we want it to be written from scratch. Well, that is outside the ability of a staff person working part-time to do. So if you would ever want to do something like that, it would be an additional cost. Basically, everything that I've done so far that you're accustomed to your planners doing is maintenance. We maintain your zoning orders. We advise on your existing subregs, on your zoning ordinance. We also work to determine compliance with those documents for items that are submitted on the agenda, and we will continue to do so. What we want to acknowledge is that if you have any special documents, that if you're expanding on our list, then they're basically wanting to put everyone on notice that that might be something outside the realm of maintenance, and you would have to pay extra for that. And I'll give you an example. We have had a city come into our jurisdiction and ask for.
I have a copy.
I'll go back
It's
and
right there.
I thought we had, okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
Ask for a new zoning map to be drawn from scratch. Well, we have a GIS operator, and I'll be honest, it was Cott County. In fact, I had their little map. They had a little map of the entire county, and they said, we want it looks just like that. Yeah.
And that comes from, the state.
Jordan.
Yes. So if you wanted us to take this and do an atlas, which means that you would have a 105-page zoning map, we can do that, but it is outside the realm of maintenance. In addition to that, we would have to get every ordinance, and we do need to do this, get every ordinance of new property you have rezoned and have it reflected on your atlas. I don't think that that's a bad idea for you guys. It may be that the atlas doesn't need to be 105 pages, but that suggests what they've done so far in terms of looking at it. They had to do that from scratch for Cott County, and it was outside the realm of maintenance for that jurisdiction. Anything that I've done today would be within your scope, and so you would not need to worry about it. But they have not done this in the past, so they wanted us all to get that document that you have signed by the chairman and acknowledged by the planning commission. It's kind of a perfunctory thing.
So anything that we would have that might be out of the scale of what you're supposed to do for us, you would inform us, okay,
That's out there.
all I need.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're supposed to have done you hadn't done?
I've still got to try to learn how to.
Yes, I do too. I think that they can have it just so they'll know what we're talking
I
about.
would love to have a tour of a trailer with a lot of hay on it.
There's time if you'll follow me home.
I'm not sure I'd be much help getting them off there. Unless the truck has a button you push that just dumps them off. But no, there's really nothing. Now,
I'm sure if you did come out and say, hey, they're gonna charge more for that.
yeah.
And that's-
Just recently, Townsend wanted a total new comprehensive
Catch
plan.
me days if
And-
we don't like it.
That's a
well,
That's a big
because
thing.
they don't have it in their
the
zoning.
The company I work
I
for,
will
we
come
did a
Tuesday.
comp plan for, actually Parks and Rec plan for Pigeon Forge. It was pretty big.
Guaranteed.
I imagine so.
Well, and to Mr. Barganza's comments, Pigeon Forge has a population of 7,000, a little over, I think it's like 7.5. So that's what they base their contract on. And yet their daytime population per year is 3 million. So it is disparity of scale.
Absolutely. If I may mention with the papers that were just passed out to you, the very last section on the back says, training and continuing education. It says, there's periodic updates, planning-related legislation, planning concepts, informing members of training opportunities and individual training sessions. There are some dates on there when that stuff will be taking place. And you can update us with locations on those and stuff.
And those are kind of proposed ones, but we just did two. We did one in Jeff City. Did anybody here go to that one? I think I sent you notices.
I did not make it. We had plans to attend, but I was at work.
Oh. Well, they did one in Jeff City and they did one in Clinton. I actually was one of the instructors in Clinton. You know, and I know you're doing the minutes. I think you should, I mean, what have we've been looking at here? We've been looking at Tennessee Code Annotated. I would put in the minutes that you had 30 minutes of training, if not an hour.
I'd say, yeah, because I've read it probably another 30 minutes from here.
I would put an hour of training, and you're supposed to, by state law, you're supposed to enter that into the minutes, and just state that there were 30 minutes of training on Tennessee Code Annotated 133402.
Thank you for that, Ms. Baldwin. Do we need to do this as far as going ahead and want me to sign this? Do we need to make a motion? Are you all in agreement? Are you all at peace with it? How do you want to handle that? Yes, sir.
Do we have a choice?
Well, it sounds we don't.
It didn't sound
This
like
is adopted, so
Yeah.
Didn't sound like a choice.
No.
Do we need a?
I would get a motion in a
We have to.
second, and
Okay.
then that authorizes the chairman to sign it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Have proper motion. Do we have a second? Have a second. Have any discussion?
Actually,
Being-
yes.
Okay.
Well, no, let's get through this and then have some.
Okay. Being no discussion, all those in favor of the chairman signing the Jefferson County Planning Commission 2025 Annual Work Program, please let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We do have some other business. Miss Stephanie Rustin would like to give us an update.
I was just gonna let y'all know, I've been to White Pine and Jefferson City with the campground new regulation. They're going into or taking it out of Olive Zone and putting it in C2. And they both have passed them. I go to Dandridge July 8th, I believe it's the 8th, for their vote. And I know Jefferson City's, I was beginning to think they weren't gonna pass it because they've discovered now they don't really have any RV park spot in their zoning right now. So I think they originally thought, well, we're not gonna do this, but then they got to thinking, well, maybe we need to work on this. So that they're now gonna be working on getting RV parks put in their zonings at some point because they don't have it listed
As an allowable
as
use.
an allowable use.
Yes.
So will it come to commission
It will be,
July?
County Commission, July 21st.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other business?
Mr. Chairman, going back to Mr. Foley's, during citizens' comments, he brought up this zoning map. Do we already have this in the pages? Well, and I realize that Jordan,
Look at the huge map that he.
We've got those that we looked at
We
here
do have-
probably last winter,
We
winter
have
before.
some
Yes.
maps that haven't been approved, but they don't, those are the ones that have no, they're just the parcels, they don't have parcel IDs or anything on them. It's
And they
just-
don't have overlays
it's
yet
just this
either,
map
correct?
Without overlays.
I thought there was
So we don't,
north and south.
so.
They were supposed to
I
do
mean,
north
I
and
can-
south. That was
Me
gonna be
knowing what
right.
I've done from looking at our zoning map so much, I can look at that map and tell you what is not what. But anybody else looking at it was not gonna realize where the property's located.
Yeah.
And we were told they couldn't do like the old maps we have anymore, so I'm not sure. It's what the mapping girl said.
Emily. Yeah.
Austin.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we need to adopt this map?
Oh, I assume have adopted it.
Yeah, I think, didn't it say at the bottom that it has been?
2011.
2011, okay.
Okay.
So when you, in fact, one of the things, when we did the new one for New Tazewell, we found a lot that we were treating as industrial that had never been rezoned. And concurrent with that, we found a public road that had never been abandoned. So it's a good thing to do. But when you do a new zoning map, it has to have approval of this body. Then it goes to your legislative body, 2 readings with public hearing.
Okay, but we never changed anything, so
We hadn't changed
we're still
a thing.
working on the
We're-
20. Okay.
Yep, still working on the plan, and to get that map with the overlays,
Oh, I have one more. And I've done, my question is, we have some areas, I had a call last week about a zoning, and somebody wanted to do like a little home occupation business on their property. When I pulled the zoning, it's zoned commercial. It's like a 3-acre tract with a mobile home on it, next to commercial property, and we never rezoned it, so I'm not sure, what do we need to do in those situations, that we've got those that are,
So you're using a database that has it tagged as commercial, but your map doesn't show it.
my map shows it commercial.
Your map shows it commercial, but you think that that's inaccurate?
But, well, we never, I mean, that probably was something that was put on in 98, and there's been a house on it for the whole time.
Well, that's just a non-conformity, but,
Well, what do they need to do, though, if they want to subdivide it, the property, or they'd have to rezone it back to A1? Which is what the majority of the property around it is.
if you have a map that has been adopted and shows it as commercial, so which commercial is it?
It's C2.
C2,
It's
that does not
next.
allow any residences
No.
in it? Yeah, they'd have to, in fact, I remember not too
Well,
long ago,
that's what we just did, yeah.
we unzoned something, or
But
zoned
it
it
had
back
been
to.
done through plan, I mean, it had been done, though, actually through county commission. This one, I think, has been one, I can't find any record back where anything was, a rezoning was done on that exact property.
Do you have records of every single?
A lot of them, most of them.
You know, that's another reason that you update maps, is because it will cure,
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, next staff meeting I have with the development district, I will ask. And since they have that, I'll talk to Emily and see what the process would be and how difficult
I mean, I
it
can
was.
show you
And we
the-
can determine if it would be within your current scope that you just signed, or outside of that scope, if there would have to be an additional amount of money.
give me that paper back, so after next month, we'll sign it till we get done. And typically don't do this, I'm making a special exception tonight in lieu of our short meeting. We've had, Mr. Foley, you had something you want to say
Yes,
real
sir. I
quick.
just wanted to clarify that the handout I gave you folks is just the cover sheet, as you alluded to, Ms. Baldwin. I guess Jordan made you a whole atlas. There are 106
Well,
tiles to
he
the
didn't
whole
make, Emily
thing.
made it.
So what I gave you was just
But
the
here's
cover
the-
sheet.
Yes,
That's
but
what we
it
already
has,
have.
but it doesn't have the
Yeah.
overlay.
We've never seen the atlas put together,
Really?
we've seen big spreadouts, like 3x5s or 2x3s, or,
Oh, okay. That's
you know,
what I was
really
confused.
But it
cumbersome.
doesn't, like I said, it
pieces
doesn't have
of-
the overlays for addressing or
It doesn't have, and that had to be
roads or anything.
put on it, and I don't know if that's something that's within the scope of what we can have y'all do, or we won't have to pay extra for that.
Right.
May pass the hat.
I'll show you.
Any further business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Have a proper motion, have a second. All those in favor of adjournment can let it be known by standing.
Meeting is adjourned. Everyone must say.
Hey,
I'm speaking tonight.
Way to go, kid. We're gonna get you a raise.
What are you doing?
Get me my phone.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, thank you. Yeah, got all the
Time delay on? It's red, it's out. I'm gonna put that back up there so nobody mad.